Hi! Welcome to a video of me talking about a very popular book and probably getting myself a lot of hate from people on the internet. Yeah. Anyway, so we're talking about Crescent City. Before we get into the review, I just quickly want to say these are just my personal opinions. Who am I? Nobody. So don't get triggered. If you like this book, if you enjoyed it, good for you. Did I enjoy it? Well, let's find out. The beginning of this book, it was all about world building, information dump about like facts, terms, things about this fantasy world, which I feel like the fantasy world itself was not bad. It's kind of hard to focus when it's all about the world building in the beginning, especially in fantasy books. So here's the thing, I can kind of understand, because when you're writing a book, when you're creating this amazing fantasy world, you have this godlike view on your stories, like you know everything about the story, right? So you want to tell your reader everything about the world that you're creating, but I don't necessarily feel like that's the best way to grab the attention of a reader, because let's be real, in the beginning of a book, we don't really care about the world. We want to see the characters. If you take any successful fantasy book, one thing you'll notice is the story always starts with a small portion of the fantasy world. When eventually the reader gets familiar with it, the world expands to give like a full view. So the first few chapters were just a bunch of information that I could not care less about, but I kept going because I like a little torture. Then the murder happened. I was shook because there are people dying already, because I was just a few chapters in. I was so happy that something actually happened, because even though I was just like crying hysterically, at least something happened, right? At least some action was going on, so it was fine. That murder was so traumatizing. I was bawling my eyes out. I was going through it, okay? But apparently, the book did not give me the same energy. I was hoping to see Bryce go crazy, her pain, and relate to her pain, which actually says something about her mental health. Anyways, there was none of that in here. Like a huge emotional part was missing in the beginning of this book. That's why it was kind of hard to connect. I felt like this is a very plot driven story, and my problem with it is they do not give a proper value to the characters. Characters are there to just drive the plot. I wish I could see her breaking down in the middle of night when nobody's watching, but something about the way that it's written was not satisfying to me, so yeah. And then at a certain point, it actually kind of started to become interesting. Let me tell you where exactly it started to become interesting. When we see Bryce and Hunt's relationship dynamic, and they actually started to open up to each other, and that's when we see the real emotions, and that's when I actually started connecting to these characters. And the relationship dynamic between Hunt and Bryce is really interesting. I have read, I think, about 5 books of Sarah J. Maas. She has an obsession with enemies to lovers relationships, which I do not complain about. Don't get me wrong, I eat that up every single time. Like, it's a cliche for a reason, it's so good. But at this point, it's almost like she knows what we want and just tries to shove it down our throats, which is not that hard to do because we're just waiting for it. That sounds... Anyways, let's not talk about Sarah J. Maas's interesting choice of vocabulary. Twitching, grunting, growling. What does that even mean? Like, someone please demonstrate. You know what? Don't. So animalistic. What are we as a community? And also, I'm not saying that I did not enjoy the book. It was fun. For the most part, I actually liked the book. It was a fun read. I enjoyed it. All I'm saying is some things was a little too hard for my 2 poorly functioning brain cells. It kind of surprised me because I actually liked the world building of A Court of Thorns and Roses series. But the only reason that I can think of for this complex and not so good world building is that this is adult fiction and that is young adult, like the a Court of Thrones and Roses series. So maybe she thought because this is adult fiction, it has to be complex to a point that I cannot wrap my mind around. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe it worked for you guys. Maybe I'm dumb. Instead of this complex and confusing and heavy world building, I would like to see some gradually progressing world building because I liked the plot. Actually, the story, I liked it. It was good. It was it was good. I mean it. I liked it. Okay, I liked the plot. And also, you might think an adult fiction book this big will have a lot of smut, like a lot. Yeah, that's what I thought too. But guess what? It doesn't. There's not much going on more than like cursing every 5 seconds and teasing each other. That's pretty much it. Do whatever you wish with that piece of information. I'm not trying to judge things by its size, but for something this big, it wasn't that good. That's all I'm saying. Okay, it could have been smaller. Could have used some editing. That's all. Okay, who am I? Am I going to read the next book? Probably yes, because I'm that completionist. Is that a word? Completionist? That is it, actually. If you're still here, thank you for listening to me rambling for like how long, I don't even know. I'll see you next time. Bye.